The agenda these days, more and more we're hearing of crimes committed by young people. Two of our main stories today relate to young people going to the courts for committing fatal crimes. Well, yesterday, the National Commissioner of Police, General Khehla Sitole, launched and announced the winners of the Junior National Commissioner competition. This in response to school safety challenges. In the midst of these horrific tales of sometimes fatal violence coming from schools, this intervention is seen as timely. The winner of the competition is Felistas Hamba, and both the Commissioner and the newly elected Junior National Commissioner join us in the studio. A very warm welcome to both of you, and thanks for making the time to come through.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And thanks for being patient when we had to go to breaking stories. I know it's been a long wait for you. Commissioner, how does this project come about?
Okay, thank you very much. Firstly, these projects come a little bit a long way in the country. Important to mention is that South Africa is the first country to come up with this initiative internationally. And we started designing it in the Northern Cape in 2007. And in 2008, it won an international award with the United Nations organization, so it was taken into the international best practice system. But exactly, it is intended to respond to young people becoming both perpetrators and as well as victims of crime.
Yeah.
And it then culminated into a national youth crime prevention strategy.
You're talking about young people
Yes.
becoming both victims
Yes.
and perpetrators of crimes.
Yes.
And right now in our news and current affairs,
Yes.
we have an exact story to fit that description.
Yes.
What happened in Polokwane.
Yes.
Young people, mob justice meted out
Yes.
on another young person.
Yes.
How does that talk into this project?
All right. What we are following currently in terms of the turnaround vision of the South African Police Service is the stabilization and normalization of crime. And we've declared the national stabilization together with the minister, but then at the present moment we're in the normalization phase. In the normalization phase is massive community mobilization and creating various platforms for communities to be able to fight crime. And this platform is for young people, firstly, to get involved themselves, to be empowered so that they provide a response on their own to crime. One of our priorities, our national priorities at the present moment, is school safety. That is one of the areas of concern that is nationally. But from a proactive perspective of this strategy is intended to create a safe and secure learning climate for the learners so that they can learn in a crime-free environment. But secondly, the strategy is intended to take a young person out of reach of criminals so that we collapse their operations, because their operations are more than 95% dependent on a young person. And we're turning the young person instead to become anti-crime so that they actually resist the temptations by criminals. The Junior Commissioner project is part and parcel of developmental crime prevention. I think crime prevention has got three dimensions. It's your community crime prevention, your situational crime prevention, and your developmental crime prevention. Your developmental crime prevention talks about crimes against young people and children. And this project, specifically the Junior Commissioner project, is a long-term mentorship program for young people. Firstly, we prepare them for leadership, we prepare them to be resilient against crime, and we make sure that their dreams are not shuttered down so that they become the future of the country.
Felistas, let's congratulate you. You come from a school in Soshanguve. What did you have to do to earn this recognition?
For me, well, thank you for having me here today. For me to be called the Junior National Commissioner of South Africa as a whole today, hard work and determination came in like late night studies, and well, you have to debate so that you can be well known outside.
Take us through some of the processes you had to go through to get here.
I started at a district level, which is at a local level, which is the station level. In my station, which is the Soshanguve police station, they invited all the schools in my station, and then we started the debating for the station commander competition. Then we went to the district, which is the cluster. There we competed against the station commissioners from all the different stations inside the particular cluster, where I won the cluster commander. Then we went to provincial level, where I competed with other clusters around Gauteng. As Gauteng, we know that it has 16 clusters. So I competed amongst those 16 clusters, and I was pronounced as the Gauteng Junior Provincial Commissioner. Then after that, which was yesterday, I competed with other 8 provinces around our country, which is Limpopo, KZN, Mpumalanga, and the rest. We competed for the national title, and here I am today being announced as the Junior National Commissioner.
Well, winning is always a good thing, Felistas. But today we have a story. A teenage boy who stabbed a teacher to death in the Northwest last year is appearing in court in the Northwest province. In the Limpopo province, 5 high school pupils are appearing in the Polokwane Magistrates Court because they've killed one of their own. What are young people, what kind of conversations are you having about these kind of issues?
In terms of such issues, I think at a national level, we should start with the provincial levels and go back down to the cluster levels and down to the station levels, because at the station levels, that's where most crime starts. So in such issues, we as junior leaders communicate with learners through school talks that we have with them. We communicate with them, we raise awareness in all sort of aspects, so that we can teach them that crime does not pay, and then we can teach them that doing crime does not really pay. And
not only does it not pay, it breaks communities.
Yes.
Can I also add something else that you might not just, yes. Part and parcel of the competition was including projects which they have led in their provinces. And those projects were including visiting quite a number of schools, the hotspots, stabilizing those hotspots, mobilizing social workers,
I would imagine that's why I wanted to get from her what conversations young people
I'm just reminding her so that she can tell you. But what I wanted to bring to your attention is that her province won also is #1 Gauteng at that team, but she can elaborate.
Well, congratulations. I just want you to tell us some more, especially because you've been out there and you've spoken to young people. What are the issues that young people are having that's creating all this violence among school-going children?
I think most of the issues that young people are having is that they disrespect teachers. Because of disrespect, violence occurs in class. There's a recent film in northern, if I can remember pretty well, it is in one of the provinces around Gauteng. Media showing school learners beating up a teacher.
Oh yes.
That shows that junior leaders have a long way to go. As a junior leader of Gauteng, myself and my team went through different schools trying to motivate them about what is really crime.
But what is bugging young people?
Peer pressure, which is one of the things that hurts them the most, and gangsterism, taking part in illegal activities, and teenage pregnancy.
All right, those are some of the issues, and we're speaking to the newly elected Junior National Commissioner, Felistas Hamba. But Commissioner, we have you here as well, and our conversation comes against the backdrop of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Police currently underway in Cape Town. How are you affected by the Robert McBride dispute?
No, thank you very much. I think I'm not affected at all. Maybe I can...
Really? It's police being investigated. They said that 27 crime intelligence officers in the Crime Intelligence Office have criminal offences against them. You're not unaffected by this?
Let me just first say, we do investigation from a criminal investigation process, and is also prescribed by the legislation, but we don't do it on media. If we really invest...
It's public interest, though.
Yes, but remember, you must prove it in court, not in the media. When we deal with some investigation, all we want to prove is bringing prima facie evidence in court so that the matter can be processed. Yes, there is a number of investigations that IPID is doing, and where they also have my support. And such investigations, these are what we can refer to as valid investigations. And in that manner...
Especially the ones that relate to serious crimes.
And corruption, yes. And I have acted already on some of them. I've suspended senior officers, and for which I commend IPID. But my response to the question, I did not want to associate it to my bride, but rather IPID, because I'm working with IPID. And anyway,
it's interesting that you're commending IPID.
Yes, I am.
And processes in Parliament yesterday were saying they don't have a track record for McBride. How do you separate the two? On one hand, you see IPID as successful. Yes. On the other hand, McBride is seen as ineffective.
Yeah, I think we always, you see me at the present moment, I'm Khehla John Sitole. I'm not the police. And the work of the police is done by the police service. I am leading the police service. So I don't want to confuse the police service and me as an individual.
How does IPID not having certainty in terms of its leadership affect the work of the police?
Yeah, look, let me say it in this way. And I also I don't necessarily want to be party to what is happening in Parliament. I want to talk about the working relationship and cooperation that I had with Mr. McBride. On the one side, they are successful in in certain cases, but it's not in all cases. The same applies to the police. In those specific cases where we have worked together, I still commend IPID, because they brought information to me and I was able to act on that particular information. But there's also quite a lot of other cases where there's not yet, like for instance, you're counting quite a lot of generals there. There's no evidence on the other general that has been brought to my attention. Now, in that case, I can't act and I can't confirm. That's why I'm saying the best thing is for us not to investigate them on the media. Yeah, let's do the investigation as prescribed by law.
But how is the fight against crime moving forward when there's a criminal element within? You're fighting crime in the community, yes, and a similar element exists within the police fraternity. How is that affecting your work?
All right. Let me first say, in any organization in the world, internationally, you will always have rotten potatoes. The most important thing is how do you act in removing them? And I've put systems in place of removing rotten potatoes. At some stage, we have arrested 16 of our own members. Yes. And what I can tell you, I think members of the police, they become members for as long as they are in the blue uniform. But the moment they commit crime, they're no longer members of the police, they're criminals. And they're just like any criminal. And we take them to custody. And I always take my blue uniform and exchange it with the orange uniform. So at the present moment, I'm rebuilding the police service. And I'm making sure that it is a clean organization. So I will continuously act against such information until the police service is completely clean. But there are those who are dedicated and who are patriotic and who are doing their duties, and they actually present excellence. They need to be commended.
What information do you have in terms of the Flora Park case of 5 teenagers appearing in court today in the Polokwane Magistrates Court in relation to the killing of another teenager, with reports that one of the perpetrators' father is a policeman? What kind of information, how have you been interacting with that case?
Okay, the case was brought to my attention, and what has become a turnaround standard practice is that when a case is brought to attention and it affects public interest, we respond within the 72-hour turnaround. And immediately it was brought to my attention, I instructed the 72-hour turnaround. Within 48 hours, the 5 suspects were arrested, and they've appeared today. The investigation continues, and other arrests are imminent, because as the police, we do not associate ourselves with this, and we do not also allow anything that is outside the law to happen, like vigilantism.
What action has been taken against the father who was supposedly protecting his son, even when he knew what had happened?
Can I first start by saying that the father is no longer in the police service. He's now a civilian.
So he's not one of the investigators as put out there?
No, he was in the police service and he retired. He's a retired warrant officer. Mm-hmm. Yes. So the only action that can be taken, if he's associated with a crime, we're going to arrest him.
So we just follow criminal procedures?
We follow the criminal procedure purely.
Just in wrapping up, let's go back to why we're here today. The youth crime prevention processes within SABC, and this competition yesterday being part of that strategy of developing leaders who are aware of their societies. It might be a warm and fuzzy project,
yes,
but it's dealing with real issues. Young people more and more are seen to be so violent, yes, and committing really serious crimes.
Sure.
Tell us about what it really means for SABC, this project in that regard.
Yeah. Firstly, what it means for SABC is that, remember, basic policing has got 3 dimensions. It's your strategic policing, it's your innovative policing, and your basic policing. But then on the strategic policing side, we follow integrated and multidisciplinary collaboration, which means policing is not a SABC issue alone, is also a matter of interest of the public and other stakeholders. Now it tells us firstly that multidisciplinary collaboration is improving and it's getting taken to another level. Secondly, I think another information hub which we can use in order to take away those who belong to custody and also clear the communities is there. So we will enhance that capacity. I
see in the background that the State Capture Commission has started, and I suppose we're going to have to go there. But quickly, Felistas, how are you going to use this responsibility that you have been given?
I'm sure going to use my responsibility wisely and reducing the crime that is taking place in our schools and making our schools more safer.
Thank you so much for making the time to come through, and we congratulate you. Felistas Hamba is the newly elected Junior National Commissioner of the Police, stemming from a competition that's run by the South African Police Services. We thank you so much for your time, General.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Blaine?
Yes, thank you very much indeed.